Hi, everyone. Thanks a lot for taking the time to join us and check in here. It's another Coffee with Conti show right here on our Corvette YouTube channel. And I mean that sincerely. I mean, I know how busy I am and I know how busy you guys are. So when you take time to check into our channel, I do appreciate that. And I'm finding more people are going to YouTube for information and for entertainment. And those of you interested in the Corvette community, boy, there's a lot going on in the marketplace. It is great to have you here. Just to give you a quick recap on the channel, we've done so much this past week in case you missed it. Last Sunday on the show, we featured a 46-minute vlog talking about the C8 Corvette. The dealer tour was here at our dealership. We got your reactions. We got a lot of information from the Corvette specialists. And of course, I wasted no time to show you how much ample space was actually in the C8 2020 mid-engine Corvette, in the front and in the back. And then this past Tuesday, as always, it's a quick tip from Rick. This week, we showed you how to take that C7 top off and store it on the support brackets, even if you couldn't see the support brackets. And then, of course, at the back half of every Tuesday vlog, we feature your beautiful rides. And boy, you guys send in some great-looking cars. I love featuring those. If you'd like to have your car into rotation, email me a picture of your car with your first name and what state that you're from. Also, this past week, I told you it's been busy, and I'm looking for an assistant and a salesperson to work underneath me. Application to the job is down below in the description of this video. And then on Thursday, we gave you real-time updates on the C8 mid-engine 2020 Corvette ordering. Constraints, what you could get, what you couldn't get. And the first build weeks were assigned. How about that? Now, I know that the strike is going on, so a lot of people are going, well, is the C8 production going to be affected? We've got a very small window before that actually happens where it would alter allocations and push back the start of the production of the car. I'm not sure when that is. I'm not even sure what all the details are, what everybody's fighting about. I will say this about the strike. I hope that both sides realize that they have great opportunities. Let's be fair to each other. Let's get this resolved, and let's get back to work. That's all I want to say about the strike. Now, you guys know from being on the channel how passionate I am on representing Corvette, the people I get to deal with, and the people that I meet. For today's featured clip, you're going to meet a very humble and extremely passionate man, not only for the space program, but for the Astronaut Corvette that he owns. Danny Reed owns Alan Bean's 1969 Corvette. And just recently, for its 50th anniversary, it was on display in Washington, D.C.
Houston. After serving the world for over 30 years, the space shuttle earned its place in history and it's come to a final stop.
What an incredible display. What a great honor. It was a great honor for me to meet Danny many years ago in Houston at the Corvette Expo. He had that car on display, and I walked around it feeling like a 12-year-old kid, looking at all the articles and the memorabilia, of course, looking at a real Astronaut Corvette. Danny comes up and starts talking to me. You can see that I was taking a liking to the car and offered me an opportunity to sit in the car. And I said, no, that's okay. Then he says, well, you know, it's worth $2-3 million. And I'm like, I'm going to take you up on that. So I let him open the door, and graciously, I was so excited. I'm sitting here sitting in an astronaut's Corvette. A few years later, I had a chance to see Danny again. They took the Houston Corvette Expo and moved it to Galveston. Got a chance to interview Danny for our vlog as he talked about the ownership of these cars and how they came to be. And yes, he offered me an opportunity to sit in the car again, and I didn't even blink an eye. I was in there, and again, what a great thrill and an honor for me to be sitting in an actual astronaut's Corvette. Now, before we feature a recent interview of Danny talking about the 69 Corvette, let's show you a side of Alan Bean, the astronaut and lunar module pilot that many didn't know. He was an accomplished artist, extremely talented. And here's something he did with a moon boot, but it wasn't the actual moon boot he walked on the moon with. Check this out.
I see like the texture on these paintings. Are those like your boot prints?
Those are boot prints. I've always liked texture. Let me show you how I do it.
I would love to see this.
Okay, first I start off and I imagine a painting, what it's going to be like.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to tell a story of some kind because I left NASA to tell the stories that I knew of humans on the moon. Now when I get ready to paint the picture, I say I got to get some texture. So I cut a board like this. It's a plywood that you make real wooden airplanes out of. Then I get a texturing material called modeling paste and put on here. Then I get a moon boot. Now, I can't get mine because we left ours on the moon to save weight. But this is just exactly like the one I wore, not as dirty as the one I wore. But then I take in the material, push it down in there, like that, see? Then after a while, maybe an hour or so, I lift it out, and then there's sort of an image of a boot. Then I wanted to have some other texture between it. So this is the hammer that I had on the moon.
That is something else.
That I drove in the flagstaff with and broke up rocks and pounded rocks. But then when I thought, you know, I could use this to do something good. So I make other marks with this. See how that does?
Oh.
See how these marks are made with the hammer?
Oh, I see.
After I did that, I said, you know, I wish I had some moon dust to put in these paintings.
Right, I heard about this.
But they didn't give us a little moon rock. We thought they might give us something for a ring, you know, or something for our wife or something.
Sure.
So one day I was sitting at my desk over here.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
walk over here, John.
Thank you, I will.
And I said, well, you know, I looked up on the wall, and here was what NASA did give me. This is the flag. It used to be bigger that went on my suit here that I wore on the moon.
Yes, sir.
The NASA emblem here,
Right.
Apollo 12 was here, and my name tag was here. Okay, those are the same thing from my backpack that was on the cliffs, the backpack.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm looking at them, and I'm thinking, boy, these are dirty. Maybe I ought to wash them so they look as good as my Skylab stuff.
Right.
Shows how dumb you can be sometimes. And then I thought, you know, those are dirty with dust from the ocean of storms where we were.
Wow.
I do have moon dust. It's not very much because it's in there between the threads of this fabric. You can see it. So I said, if I'm willing to cut this up, because this meant a lot to me,
Sure.
I could have moon dust in my paintings. And then I said, you know, I'm spending the rest of my life doing these paintings to record what we did on the moon. So it'd be the right thing to do to make them as good as I could. If I had known that I was going to do this, I would have asked Pete Conrad sometime there. I'd say, here's some dirt, rub it on me. Rub it all over me.
Look, I'm going to bring some of that back.
These are the first paintings ever in all of history, all of art history, from a place other than this earth. Now, someone on this earth has imagined what it would be on the moon, and they painted it.
Right.
But I'm the first artist ever to go anywhere else. Right. And these are images from this other world.
Now, isn't that incredible? I think it's time to refill your coffee. Sit back and listen now to Danny Reed talk about the astronaut program and that '69 Corvette of Alan Bean.
The moment that I remember the most is Neil Armstrong when he first walked on the moon. And the space program, it seemed like it brought people together. It's something to talk about, something positive, something great, something everybody could enjoy. People that you normally couldn't even talk to, they made a connection. And then worldwide, it just brought peace to the earth. I'm Danny Reed, and I have Alan Bean's Apollo 12 Corvette. When the space program came along, everyone was glued to their television. And that was about the only thing to watch, and you'd get sucked into that thing, and you just couldn't believe it. But Ed Cole was president of General Motors, and Jim Rathman called Ed Cole, and he said, why don't we just give astronauts a car for $1 a year, and then when they come in, we'll sell them as astronaut cars and make some money. So they would drive them for a year. Well, they could drive them 6 months if they wanted to and turn them in. But they would drive them, then they would turn them in, and then Jim Rathman would sell them. And it was a special lease program, so it makes it really hard to track one of the cars because it never went into the astronaut's name. And then they pretty much quit the program of giving astronauts cars for $1 a year around '72. And that was because a lot of people were complaining that General Motors was getting free advertising from NASA. And so they stopped the program. And it's really sad because the astronauts weren't making that much money. And most of them took either sedans or station wagons because they had families. To get a Corvette from that era, that was something special. The Apollo 12 crew, they wanted pretty much high horsepower. It wasn't the highest, it's 390 horse, 4-speed with air conditioning. But it doesn't have power steering, power brakes, power windows, telescoping wheel. It's just 4-speed, big block, and a lot of fun to drive. You don't have to go to the gym, all you have to just drive one of those things. They're really tough to drive, but they're very fast cars. I mean, there's no doubt about it with the wide tires. Alex Tremulous designed the paint. It's the golden black, and the black on it's supposed to look like a bird or a plane in flight. And the Apollo 12 astronauts were all naval pilots, and so that was the importance of that. And then Alex Tremulous he designed a red, white, and blue patch on the front. And in the red, the commander had CDR for commander. In the white, that was the command module pilot. So a CMP, and then Alan Bean was a lunar module pilot, so he had LMP over the blue. Another thing about that, which a lot of people don't know, is that was their colors on the Apollo flight. So Alan Bean, all of his clothes, his food, everything was tagged in blue. The commander was tagged in red. There is a little bit of confusion who had the red and who had the white. We checked in it, and according to Alan Bean and everybody I've talked to, commander had the CDR over the red. December 5th, 1969, there's a Life magazine article, had the Apollo 12 cars, the golden black ones, and I just went nuts over them. I started researching them. I knew about the cars, and luckily I bought one in August of 1971, and it was kind of freaky because normally they went to Rathman Chevrolet in Florida and then they were resold. And this one ended up at a General Motors or GMAC lot in Austin in downtown where I was living. I saw it on a lot and it was just sitting there, and I asked them, I said, what's the story on the car? And they said, we don't know, we're selling it on closed bid. And I looked on the fender and it had LMP over a red, white, and blue emblem, and I knew it was Alan Bean's. And so I didn't say much more, I just turned in a bid. And luckily I got it. And really and truly, the car, when I bought it, I pretty much kept it at the house, and people told me, big deal, it's an astronaut car, nobody cares, and it really didn't become popular probably till the mid-'70s, and that's when I started showing it at NASA Johnson Space Center open house, and I think it was probably '74, '75, the first time that I showed it there. And then interest started picking up on the cars. And then magazine articles started hitting around 2000, 2002. And I probably have a stack of magazines that tall that feature the car in them. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's pretty much been in every major Corvette or car magazine. I think Alan Bean's car is the most documented Corvette in the world. And I could be totally wrong, there's probably more. But from everything it's been through and what it's done and the history of it, I don't think there's many runner-ups. Every place that I took the car, and I've got these postcards that show the 3 cars, I get one question from everybody: where are the other 2? Where are the other 2? Where are the other 2? And I say, they can't be found. They haven't been registered in any of the 48 or the 50 states. You know, we've spent a lot of money trying to find them. They don't, to our knowledge, they're either destroyed overseas, what like that. Now there's not a lot of information available from Rathman, and people, if they call the museum or if they call the National Corvette Restore Society, normally the people are referred to me, and they'll call me and they'll say, hey, I think I've got an Astronaut Corvette. And I say, send me the VIN number. And if it is an Astronaut Corvette and I've got the documentation, I promise you I will tell you. In fact, I'll try and buy it from you. And since this year, with the 50th anniversary, I have probably gotten 40 or 50 calls from people thinking they have astronaut Corvettes. I probably was called from every major space-related museum in the country, people wanting the cars. And I had never heard of the HVA. Knowing me, you know, I go online, and it didn't take me long to figure out, well, this is pretty cool because there's only 24 cars that have been registered. I could see the value in it. And to me, it's not about me, it's about the car getting the recognition. And it's important to the car. No doubt I enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's time consuming, takes away from other things, but it's worth it. Alan Bean's car will never be my car. It's Alan Bean and the world's car. It's a space voyage to me. It's been incredible. And this car has opened more doors for me than anything I can imagine. I've met people I can't believe I would ever have met. I've met mission control directors, astronauts. I've been inside Johnson Space Center, the Houston Space Center, the Cosmosphere. Every time I turn around, it opens a new door. At the Houston Space Center, they were doing a tribute to Apollo 17. And Alan Bean was there, and Alan Bean's car was on display. It was the first time that he sat in the car, and it's the first time I really got to visit with him. It was just incredible reuniting him with the car. Probably one of the neatest things, got a call from Alan Bean, I guess 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And he said, "Hey, Danny," he said, "my birthday's coming up," and he said, "I wonder if you could bring that car up to Wheeler, Texas." He said, "And then we got a parade in Shamrock, and I want to stand up in the seat, and can you drive me through the parade?" And I said, "That's great." Now, when I hung up the phone, I told my wife, Kate, and she said, "Oh my gosh." And I said, "Yeah, he wants to stand up in the seat, a guy that makes the moon and back, and I'm gonna drive him through a parade in a big block, 4-speed car, dump him out on his head." And so it took me 35 minutes to go 1.1 mile with him standing in the seat. And I swear it's almost like an automatic transmission, because I'd get it started and then I would put it out of gear and it would just kind of crawl. But that was one of the coolest things. When Alan died, it hit the news just immediately, and I was devastated. And he was out of town. He was in the hospital and passed. Earlier this year, they had the tree service for Dick Gordon and Alan Bean right outside the Houston Space Center next to Johnson Space Center. And there's Walt Cunningham and Leslie Bean, Alan's wife, and Alfred Warden, and Fred Hayes was there. A lot of these people that you only read about, and here I am. I get to visit with them, and I'm so insignificant to these people. You know, it's hard to explain. You know, it isn't that you feel out of place. I just feel blessed because it's opened doors. Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. You know, it's my adventure in space. I've used it mainly to promote the space program. Normally, even if I go to major events, I'll get friends from NASA to come down, talk to the kids, because they see the car and it opens the door to space. And I try and encourage kids to become engineers, to get into the space program and things like that, because it's important to me. It's been part of my life. Even though I wasn't into the space program, I lived it through others. I love the space program. Always will. That will never change. I just hope they keep it going.
Danny, nice job. And I'll tell you what, folks, I'm a believer in things that are meant to be. Danny Reed was meant to own Alan Bean's Corvette. Well, folks, that's our show for today. But before you go, I do have an announcement that ties in directly to our theme today, the space program and Corvettes. For C8 2020 Corvette seekers of the new convertible at the Kennedy Space Center, October 3rd, there's going to be a public viewing of that car. If you want information on that, I'll have a link down below in the description so you can join that and check it out. And if you do so, please send me pictures. I'd love to feature that on a future vlog. Starting to feel like that 12-year-old kid again. Hey guys, thanks again for taking the time to watch. I appreciate you being here. Thumbs up this video. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I really do appreciate that support, and continue to make those comments down below. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.